You are now listening to the New Old Heads podcast, premiered every Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time at BringDownTheBand.com, and brought to you by No Bad Ideas, Coleman Dental, Printfinity, Indie CD and Vinyl, and Sun King Brewery. Support the New Old Heads by visiting our Patreon at patreon.com/newoldheads.
You are now tuned in to the New Old Heads podcast. I am Major 7th. The entire crew is here. We actually have an audience today as well. I'm excited. We got a couple live members here watching, so we appreciate that as well. I'm nervous now because we got people in the house, so
don't be nervous.
Yeah, I need to act normal, right? Just act normal. Shout out to the chat as well on Twitch. My man Lonegevity is here. How are you, sir?
Doing all right.
Live from headquarters. I'm used to saying live from headquarters, but we at headquarters now.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Shout out to my lamp too.
Doing okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything good?
Yeah. Everything's good. if the cutting on the episodes as you're watching it at home, if it's delayed, it's because I'm slow because I'm not used to doing it. So
it's all good.
But
it's all good. We we get back into the groove of being together, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But, it's gonna take a couple to get it right, but we got some new toys, new bells and whistles, but it'll work itself out. My man Jay Moore is in the building. How are you, sir?
Once again, blessed and highly vaccinated.
Black and highly?
I'm that too.
Okay.
I'm black and I'm highly vaccinated.
Okay,
yeah, you know what
I'm
it is.
sorry. All right.
No, but things are moving well. Things are opening up.
Yes.
So the money's flowing a little bit in the direction it should be. So I'm happy about that.
Okay.
So still, if you are not on point, wear your mask, and actually don't. If you're not on point, stay at home. Don't do that. Don't risk it. You know the vibes.
You know the vibes.
Yeah.
To my immediate left, my man DJ Jay Diff. What's happening, man?
Salutations.
How are you, sir?
We are here again for week 2 of the in-person New Old Head show.
How you feel?
And it still feels good.
It does feel good, yeah.
It still feels good.
How you feel? We got a crowd too, man. How you feel about that?
That's solid too,
Yeah.
Welcome. Enjoy.
That's what's up, man. All right, man. Let's go ahead and get into rundown so we can stay on schedule here. So actually, let's see. The first one I picked instead of going with the random route or the chat. Shout out to the chat, by the way. I selected this one for the first topic. So Chauvin got 22.5 for the murder, what I call murder, of George Floyd. And execution. I'll take that too. Mixed reactions I'm seeing from social media outlets and just people that I know, friends in general. Some people are excited, ecstatic. Some people are saying that's a little light. And if I understand correctly, there's still some more sentencing that has to happen, if I'm not mistaken. Now, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Shout out to my dude Trox. He told me there was something else that still had to go on.
The civil rights violation.
Okay, there we go. Cool, thank you. But I wanted to ask you guys what your initial reaction was to just the sentencing in general, like how you felt about it when you saw it come down, and do you think it was justified or indifferent? So, Jay Diff, I'll come to you first, man. What was your initial thought when you saw that come down for 22.5?
I honestly was a little surprised that they gave him 22.5, to be completely honest with you. I didn't think they were going to give him that much time. But he has to serve at least 15 of those.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we're really talking about the system as it is and how it's built and from the past, he most likely will probably get out in 15 years. But in the same token, I love the fact that they're using him as an example, that you just cannot go around doing things like this, and people have had enough. I mean, we've had enough for I don't know how long, but finally some other people tapped in and they've had enough as well. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty solid sentence. I love to see him do the whole thing.
Yeah.
I seen or actually heard his mom pleading with them to try to give him less time because
really, I didn't see that.
This is the last time that she'll be able to do their special hug and whatever. I have no sympathy for that guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I understand you're his mom. Your mom's gonna ride with you till the wheels fall off regardless.
Yeah.
But in the same token, right is right and wrong is wrong. So I thought it was a pretty solid sentence and surprising.
Surprising. Okay.
Yeah.
Lone, I'll come to you next. Are you good over there?
Yeah, sure.
How'd you feel, man, when it came down 22.5?
To be honest, I'd already moved on from it. You know, like and I say that because I think it's great that he was sentenced and all that good stuff, but it's not like the real, you know, it's somewhat justice, I guess, if you want to call it that. But at the same time, I still kind of see it as it's just a smaller cog in everything else that's going on. So I'd rather see, like, you know, we talked a few weeks ago about the actual change that was potentially going to happen with the Floyd laws, stuff like that. I don't know what it's called exactly, but
The George Floyd's Policing Act.
yeah, but they didn't actually go through with it, did they? Or I didn't see this.
It still
there's
hasn't been passed.
There's still some opposition to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to say that it's not a good thing or anything like that. I mean, I'm happy that justice was served in this aspect, but as far as the big picture, you know, I'm kind of like, I mean, I'm sure most people are, but I'm kind of over like I want to see actual things happen that can prevent it in the future, you know? So
Not just making Juneteenth a holiday.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's great, you know what I mean? But it's just something that's small.
It's a pacifier.
It's definitely, that's good word, pacifier. Definitely a pacifier. That's how it hit too. I was hype about it, but not too hype.
Yeah, like I'm with Juneteenth 100% and have been before it was popular. Like, even if you've been following Printfinity, they've posted shirts.
By they, you mean you?
Yeah. Me. Posted shirts of Juneteenth.
You own the company now. Let
for
them know.
years. You know what I'm saying? So now that it's popular, you're seeing a lot of other brands and things like that doing it as well. And by next year, it's going to be corporate places doing it. So
right.
Yeah. Nice little pacifier.
Yeah, nothing more than that. I agree 100%. Jay Moore, how'd you feel, man? 22.5.
Well, I mean, I wish it was more, of course.
I agree.
Just because, like, you know, you killed a man on national television.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, this
Technically.
yeah. So, I mean, and everybody saw it. I mean, there's really no room for nuance in this situation. Like, but, you know, talking about, you know, systems that need to change. You know, Derek Chauvin shouldn't have even been a police officer at this point, especially not a police officer who was training other police officers, considering he had 18 other brutality complaints entered against him that the prosecution couldn't even bring up. So here is somebody who was not fit for the job.
Good point.
Who, you know, we need to, you know, look at these police unions who fight tooth and nail to keep police officers on the job, regardless of how violent or incompetent they are. We need to look at, you know, the fact that in certain states, I'll just take Louisiana, not New Orleans. It's not a state. Louisiana actually has, like, the police have their own Bill of Rights. And that Bill of Rights, you know, say if a police officer just walks up and shoots, you know, an unarmed person on the street, they don't have to talk to anybody for 30 days. You know, it's things like that to
Get
where
the story straight.
you know, to where, you know, we can, okay, go ahead and let's craft a story. Let's get our thing together. Let's go ahead and make sure we scrub your social media and everybody, you know, social media and make sure there's, so the problem is still persistent within the actual system of policing. And I know a lot of people, you know, like it's a big thing to talk about the systematic racism and is it a thing that actually is real? I was like, you know, if you really want to go there, there are so many examples, you know, but, you know, there are people who are like, oh, no, don't teach our children the whole story. That'll make people more
That's
racist.
too much like right.
I was like, yeah, okay.
Much
Plus,
like right.
you know, so I think when you get into the conversation, this leads into critical race theory. We're not going to get into all that. We got some other stuff.
Yeah, we got some more topics to get to.
You know, it's like they hear critical race theory, but what they really hear is critical of racism.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really bothers them more than anything, because, you know, we have a history of
talking about America, we're like, oh, the Wright brothers and like, you know, Washington, you know, crossing the Delaware.
Yeah.
Like, we'd like to talk about America, but we don't like to talk about America.
Well,
You know
the
what I'm
thing
saying?
about
So that it really is a thing that it leads into so many different aspects. But like, am I happy he's going to do time? I think he should got more. But like, you know, I'm old enough to remember when Rodney King, we saw him beaten on videotape, and the jury was like, it doesn't look like that was anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so has there been progress? Yes, because now we are starting to see police actually go to jail.
I think you guys.
Because honestly, I'm old enough to remember when police never went to jail
Right.
Oh no,
for harming people.
y'all both hit on it. Everybody hit on it. The word is systemic. Like, I think that's to the point now. That's where I'm at now. It's like, all right, so Fam was made an example. We use him as an example, but let's get to more systemic change.
But he's not the only example. That's the thing. Like, they made an example of him, but he's not the only example that they've made. You know what I'm saying? Publicly.
Okay.
The problem is there's no real change that ever comes into place. Again, it's pacifiers. It's like, let's put a Band-Aid on the problem and then let's tear it off before it heals. They never let that scab pretty much heal over before something else happens and it's pretty much not rectified. We're right back at square one pretty much.
Yeah, there's nothing to keep another, you know, there's a Chauvin that's on the job right now who has
plenty of
case file full of brutality claims, and you know, he gets desk duty and is, you know, he should have been fired. There are cops that should have been fired before it gets to this point, but because of the power of police unions, they never get fired.
I guess what I meant was a example, not the example. Just another one. I feel you on the Band-Aid, though. I'm with you there. But at the end of the day, we've all come to the same conclusion that systemic change is the goal. Like, actual something that's meat and potatoes, what I call it. Something that's tangible that we can reference. So
I actually hate to be that person, but I don't see it ever changing.
Ever changing? Yeah.
Because the problem in America is a lot of people live racist. They just don't want to be called racist.
That's tough.
It's like being called racist is worse than actually being racist.
That's tough.
And not actually recognizing that and wanting to do something about it is the problem in itself. And I just don't see it changing.
That's a bar right there. Give me some. That's
Yeah,
tough.
I mean, if you don't even think it's a problem, how can you address it?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you 100%. All right, fellas. Appreciate those comments. And like I always say, we'll continue to watch the movie and see. Let's go ahead and go to the next topic. And again, thank you all in the chat that was rocking with us and keeping us on point there. Minor technical difficulties, but we got it back together. Shout out to the homie Lone as always. I saw an article on H&HH about 10 producers who deserve more love. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to read the list and then I'll just pose a question that came up, you know, in my mind. Big Crit is on here. Let's see, who is this? No. KNO, did I say that right?
Yeah, no from Cunnilinguists.
Yeah, I'm a little asleep. I'll be honest. I'm a little asleep. DJ Muggs, obviously we know who that is. Who else? I don't want to do my clicks. Is it Necro?
Yeah.
Necro? Okay. Battle Cat, one of my all-time favorites. Juicy J, we was just talking about
How is Juicy J underrated?
We're gonna talk about it. Mr. Porter.
Yeah, Mr. Porter's definitely underrated.
Definitely.
Eric Sermon, one of me and Lone's favorites. High Tech, Rock Wilder, and I believe that's the list. Yes, they stopped it there. So
There's definitely way more people.
How do
like that.
you not mention a Mad Lib on there?
I think Mad Lib has come out of that though.
Nah,
I think he's come out of that.
I don't see it.
You don't think so?
No, sir.
I think he's come out of that by now.
No, sir. How many albums has he had that he's produced that have been nominated for anything other than Freddie Gibbs' album?
Well, you can't gauge it off the nominations though. That don't mean, you know what I'm talking about?
Not necessarily, but I'm just saying in general. So when we're talking about underrated,
yeah,
we're talking about people who haven't necessarily tapped into a big underground and mainstream following?
That was going to be that's my question. I'll throw it right back to you. Like, when we talk about underrated, like, what defines that? Like, what makes Erick Sermon underrated? To me, that's ridiculous that Erick Sermon is even thought about being underrated. But we all different. We consume music different. We listen to stuff differently, and we're old, different ages, whatever. Some of these names, I'm like, yo, Erick Sermon, word, he's underrated. Mr. Porter, I followed him, but everybody does it. So, what do y'all think? What do you think when we talk about it being underrated? You were about to go into it, like, how do we get there? Because some of these names, I don't know if I would necessarily say they are. And I'll go to you first, Jay Diff, because I know you were about to.
I mean, it just depends on the audience.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking about, if you're gauging it with, if you're putting everybody together, like I just said, if you're gauging underground and mainstream, then yeah, you're going to have people that are considered underrated.
Yep.
When you're talking about people that are actually heads and check for what's going on, a lot of times the underrated gets washed because, I mean, the people that are in the know, it's like, if you know, you know. Simple as that. But I mean, I can G for people being underrated though. I don't necessarily agree that who did you say?
The ones that threw me off was Erick Sermon, High Tech, just to name a few. Juicy J was on there.
Okay, Juicy J, I wouldn't say. Juicy J is, I mean, we just talked about him pretty much, well, him and Paul being pretty much fathers of Memphis sound for the most part. So
Facts.
I wouldn't necessarily say they're underrated.
Battle Cat is
Mr. Porter,
underrated.
the only person that I could consider for 100% of fact as being underrated is Mr. Porter.
On that
and I
list.
think that's just basically because people don't know who he is other than being in D12.
Yeah.
They don't even know he really produces and stuff like that. So
I mean, No's an interesting name because, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great producer, but he hasn't done as much as like a Mr. Porter has. You
Right.
know, he's primarily known for cunning linguists. So it's interesting that he's on there. I think he is underrated to an extent, but
Cunning Linguist isn't even a group that everybody is familiar with. Even
Sure.
a lot of people that are considered hip hop heads don't really listen to Cunning
You
Linguist.
looking at one
True.
right now, and
Yeah.
I openly tell y'all I'm sleep.
yeah, but you're sleep on a lot. So
I definitely am. I definitely am.
I mean, I think there are a handful of names that could go on there, though. I mean, like, Knots is right
Knots.
next to Mr. Porter. I think Ill Mind should go right up there as well.
DJ
Crisis.
DJ
Crisis
Khalil.
could.
DJ Khalil for me is one that could be added. When I see High Tech, Battle Cat to me is severely underrated. Severely underrated. Like when I saw him on the list, I'm like, all right, that makes sense. Like he's severely underrated. I think Crit being on there is cool too, just because we focus on his rap so much, but the people that truly know him know he produced the majority of the mixtapes out the gate.
But what has Crit done for other artists?
See,
That's what
I'd have to
that's
Google
what can
that.
lead you to being
Underrated?
underrated,
Yeah.
because you know if you don't know Cunning Linguist, then you don't know
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so like if you're not a fan of Big Crit, then you don't know him as a producer.
Yeah.
You know, like really what steps you out into being a producer is like, okay, have you, you know, and you hate to put the onus on hits.
Yeah.
You know, but let's not even put it on hits. Songs people know. You know, there's a difference between hits and songs people know. We talked a little bit about that, especially in the streaming era.
Yeah.
The difference between hits and songs people know. And I really think unfortunately, that's what leads people to being underrated a lot of times. You know, with Battle, I know Battle Cat because I know the stuff he did for, you know, I was a fan of the work he did on Corruption.
Talk
back
to
in the
him.
day.
Talk
you know,
to
he
him.
did Weak
The Dog
and Freak.
Pound.
He did Weak and Freak It.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my
Cali is active.
That's one of my favorite West Coast joints of all time.
Yeah.
You know, so of course I know him, but you know, if that's 23, 24 years ago at this point.
That's like Erick Sermon's. Like, why is he on that list?
You know,
That's
and
the one
then-
that jumped out to me.
You know, and I think about when you say Erick Sermon, I was like, if you're from the era when Erick Sermon, between the stuff he did for EPMD, his solo career, what he's producing for Keith Murray and Redman, he's not underrated at all. You just don't know him because he hasn't done anything
20
recently.
years.
But I think
you
some
know,
people
or either things he has done for recently haven't been big hits. But Eric Sermon, come on, man, this dude has worked with everybody.
I think people look at Eric Sermon, and like I said in the lead-in, like me, like Lone and I, we've been fans of Eric Sermon since I've known him, and it's like when I look at him, I'm like, I think people just look at him as, oh, that's one half of the dude that the group EPMD, and they just leave it there, not realizing how much he was producing back then, now, before now. Like, he's got a consistent track record of production.
There was a time when, like, it was a big deal if you looked at a CD or a piece of vinyl and it said Eric Sermon remix.
Yep.
That was a big deal. He did stuff for D'Angelo. I remember he did the Put the Sets in Your Air off of Temples of Boom. He did the remix for that. Like,
and that Just Like Music still go.
You know, so you're talking about somebody who's worked with R&B, hip hop, underground, mainstream, who has, you know, maintained.
Not to mention he was part of one of the best duos in hip hop.
So even if you wanted to do that and just say, oh, he just did stuff for EPM, you could take everything he did with EPMD away, and his track record as far as production is still pretty immaculate.
Exactly.
So I mean, I don't know about him being, maybe he's forgotten, unfortunately, and we haven't given him his flowers like we should, but he's definitely not underrated.
Lon, what you think about Rockwilder? Kind of that you're not that familiar?
No, I'm shouts to Rockwilder. He judged me in a beat battle once.
Oh, that's right, you did. I remember you told me about that.
I remember he was like, hey man, that one joint you played had all the girls dancing. That's what you need. I was like, all right, thanks man.
That's what you need.
That's what you need.
You know, as much as he probably is a little underrated, he's another one. Maybe he is, because I don't think of him as being underrated.
Once again, no.
You know what I mean? Like, what has he done besides what he did? You know what I mean?
He has a whole song named after him on the Meth and Red album.
But besides that,
though, is when we start getting into.
He did Rockwilder didn't he do the Lady Marmalade remake? He wound up doing that.
He was a part of that.
He did.
He was a part of that.
Then he did Christina
Aguilera. He did Destiny's Child. He had a run.
But what you just said though earlier, you said hits versus just knowing the records.
But he did hits and songs that we know.
Oh, okay.
So
and again,
I mean, once again, maybe he hasn't done anything in the last 4 or 5 years. But like when you look at his track record, how can you say Rockwilder? Like Rockwilder, he was at the top for, you know.
Oh, he had a run.
He was at the tip. He was working with pop stars.
Wasn't he doing stuff with Federation too? I know that's an underground Cali group, but
I'm not sure on
who was the producer for Federation.
I have no idea. What I can say real quick is that the only song that I know from Rockwilder is the Rockwilder song.
I knew you was gonna say that. I ain't mad at you though. I'm not mad at you.
But I think he did a nice portion of that first Meth and Red album, the Blackout album.
I think he did too.
Be clear now, the Rockwilder got some pop checks now. He got some checks.
Yeah, he getting residuals.
He got some checks. I'm just saying, when I see him, I'm not that surprised at seeing him on here versus a Eric Sermon, you know what I'm talking about, or even I ain't gonna count Mr. Porter, because I can kind of understand that based off what we talked about.
I almost want to know how old the person is who wrote this article.
Yeah.
That's a very new old heads question. Like, who wrote this article?
I don't know. It says Mitch Finley, and if I'm looking at his picture,
okay, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch, you look like you might be. I don't know. Mitch might be in his.
Did he get some outside
We're
counsel?
judging. We're judging right now.
I don't want to judge him. Yeah. I'm just gonna go off just guess. He might be in his mid to late 20s.
All right, Mitch.
Mitch might be in his mid late 20s.
When I think of underground, or excuse me, like underrated producers, I think of people like, again, Knots or Illmind or 14KT.
That's another one.
You know, or even Exile from his Blue and Exile and stuff he's done with that. Like,
I'm with you.
People that Jake One, shoot.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not talking about?
How is he not on this list?
Like, there are so many producers.
Jay Moore said Crisis.
Crisis.
Yeah, Crisis.
But even more so, like Jake One is hot. Have you seen Jake One's catalog?
Yeah.
Like,
Fire. I agree.
I mean, it can be debated whether he has free range. I'm saying free range. Shout out to
Freeway.
The stimulus package. That whole
package album is crazy. It can be debated that might be his best album.
Right.
It ain't better than Philadelphia Freeway.
Like I said, it can be debated.
But we can talk about it. But I don't think it's better than Philadelphia Freeway.
That's what we can do.
Not with that Just Blaze. No.
I'll tell you what.
That album is fire.
There's not really a skippable track on.
Yeah, it can be
Stimulus
debated.
Package.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I'll talk about it,
But you don't know it, I bet.
I know it, but I don't know it like that. So maybe I need to go back and revisit it because
That's a
Philadelphia
tough
Freeway
album.
is crazy.
It is. And the thing about Philadelphia Freeway is it's a moment in time where I can speak from our circle.
Yeah.
Where everything was everything as far as hip hop is concerned, especially from a Roc-A-Fella point of view.
That's
you know
fair.
what I'm saying?
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
You gotta take that into consideration as well. But that stimulus package is something else.
Y'all, I got to go revisit it now because I remember hearing it and being like, this is cold. But to y'all point, when y'all put it up against that makes me want to go back and revisit it. So I'm going to go back and listen to it, man. Yeah, like I remember it being good, though. I do remember that. So, yeah, man, I figured we try that one and talk about it because some of these names just kind of threw me off a little bit. And some of them I'm like, okay, cool, DJ Muggs. I can see that. You got
who's your number one most underrated producer if you could pick one person?
Oh, that's a tough question, my friend. Oh, he got me with that one. All right.
I think I'm probably going to go, and this could go multiple ways. I have to go Knots. I think. Maybe Jake One or Knots is probably the two for me.
You know what?
But I'm gonna go Knots.
You know what? I can vouch for Knots. If you really think about it and go back and especially that Busta Rhymes catalog, I'm not mad at Knots, Long. I'm not mad at Knots. I'm not gonna argue with you on that.
That's just my personal selection.
I'm not gonna argue with you on that. I'm sure there's more that I'm missing, but I'm good with Knots. I really am because I know how consistently potent dude is. Like, if you need any reference point, just go to his Instagram. Like, he make like 10,000 beats throughout the year. I swear it's a new video.
I think he made 1,200 and some beats like 2 years ago.
Come on, man! And all of them are organized and it's just nuts, man. So dude's output is crazy.
What do you guys got?
I don't necessarily know of him most underrated. I can G with that, with what you both said.
Yeah.
I can go with most not talked about producer.
Okay.
With Daz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good call.
Yeah.
Because like if we're talking about somebody that was putting out hits and he pretty much on the low without Dr. Dre had Death Row on his back and nobody talks about Daz. He was very instrumental in Tupac's career as well.
I'm not mad at that. Good call. I like that. Jay Moore, give me one real quick and then we'll go to the...
I think I just always been a fan of Mr. Porter.
Okay.
You know, but also, you know, I take it back being the oldest of the old heads.
Don't say Ice-T, man.
No.
I'm gonna get some more text messages.
Africa
man.
Islam. No, no, shout out to Africa Islam. He did hook Ice-T up. But also,
I feel you.
also, you know, people don't talk about Buck Wild enough. They don't talk about, you know, there was a cat named Young Lord who used to when you talk about those B-sides and those underground cuts, this might be the hardest name ever. The Ayatollah. I don't know if y'all remember the Ayatollah.
Sure. That name is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so I remember those names.
Was he producing a lot of them B?
Don't do that.
The B record.
I knew he was.
Oh, and also at one point, my favorite producer, and this is the end of the '90s. He just stopped producing because you know he got off into the religion.
Yeah,
Sean J. Period.
I can dig that.
I can dig that too. Yeah, I'm not mad at that. Okay, that works. Don't you want to shout out the partners real quick?
Sure.
We'd like to thank our partners for the New Old Heads podcast: No Bad Ideas Clothing Company, Coleman Dental, Printfinity, Indie CD and Vinyl, Sun King Brewery, and the hub for all things New Old Heads, bringingdowntheband.com. Remember, once you type Bringing Down the Band in the search bar on YouTube and the page populates, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And as always, we thank you for your support. Now back to the show. Well, moving on. So BET Award. It wasn't the Hip Hop Award. It was the BET Awards.
Right.
Yeah, BET Awards. There was a DMX tribute that involved the Griselda homies, and Westside Gunn was on the red carpet prior to obviously going in for the performance and everything. And Tyler the Creator just recently dropped a dope tape with Drama.
It was a full-on project.
Full-on project. Yeah, right. Yeah,
I mean, he had 2 songs that are like over 8 minutes long. So.
Yeah, like
kind of switch up though.
Yeah, like I thoroughly enjoyed it from when I ran it one time, so I'm definitely gonna go back and revisit that. But Westside Gunn was being interviewed, and somebody asked him, "Did you know that Tyler the Creator said you inspired him to start rapping again?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, that's my homie, and we send records back and forth, email, and we vibe out in the studio. And the Alchemist was instrumental in us getting together, and they've really developed a bond and a relationship, as artists and as homies." So I got to thinking, with Westside Gunn and the Griselda crew, we know what they pretty much quote unquote represent on paper. The style of music they put out, some people will say it's nostalgic or whatever, reminds us of when we were kids, whatever. But we know it's a street rap, hip hop, lyrical, grimy production, etc. But Tyler to me is the polar opposite of that. But I think it's dope that they are, I guess, working together and both acknowledging each other. So I don't want to say Westside Gunn and the crew is necessarily crossing over, but it is kind of a crossover for them to be able to collab and, just openly be collaborators. I think that's dope. And my question to y'all is, am I looking too deep into that? Because I think Monumental is way too big, but I think it's dope that a Westside Gunn can give Tyler the Creator show love, and they could possibly start working together and be, more collaborative if they haven't already. I think they've already gotten together on a couple joints. But to me, for the culture, I think that's a dope moment. And I might be overstating this, but what do y'all think? Because I think it kind of bridges 2 different types of music and 2 different, I guess, genres within hip hop. I think it's actually dope. I enjoy it. Lone, I'll come to you first. Am I overstating that? Am I a little too hype about it? I think it's dope.
I mean, if you want to be hype about it, I think it's cool.
Insert Kawhi Leonard.
Did you guys see, real quick, the NBA commentator who flashed to Kawhi when Paul George hit a shot and was like, and Kawhi goes crazy.
Oh yeah,
and he's like,
yeah, I saw that up in the press box with his family though, chilling.
Yeah, just chilling.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
But but yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. It's cool that I think the 2 that we see the artists as crossing each other. I don't know if we'll get anything out of it, and I mean,
I hope so.
I hate to be that person, but I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
I'm not surprised. It's cool.
No, I mean, like, I like Tyler because Tyler does what Tyler does.
Yeah.
I like Westside Gunn because he does what he does. And if they somehow cross paths,
and they have collab before.
Yeah. And if they do cross paths, I think it's great if it's good. You know what I mean? But Tyler's range of like what he can do is just monumental, if you will.
Nah, people forget that Tyler can really rap.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I think that's the problem.
You remember the very first song he came out with? He was rapping.
Yonkers, the first song that was that was mainstream.
I'm talking about rapping though.
Big one, yeah.
Yeah, he was rapping.
And he can rap.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we all seen the Funk Flex freestyle that made him
how uncomfortable,
super uncomfortable.
Right, I uploaded just that clip to the YouTube page, and we still get comments every week. Probably about 20 comments a week.
Tyler is a different type of animal, and is in the same beast, like Kobe says. What's crazy is Westside Gunn is Tyler's elder, but Tyler has been in the game longer.
Yeah.
So in actuality, they both can actually learn from each other if we're talking about musically. But when you talk about their artistry, I think what Tyler meant by he made me want to rap again is his last couple albums have been concept albums.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler's Tolerance have.
Very musical.
And when you listen to Westside Gunn and Griselda and them, I mean, their main focus is to spit, to introduce you to some fly stuff.
Yep.
You know, the fashion, the art, all of that type stuff, which is similar to what Tyler's doing. Because if you're talking about Tyler, people forget too that he actually does his own production on his videos. So all those visuals and stuff that you see, he's instrumental in that, and he's also behind the scenes doing like TV show work and stuff like that. So I would say they're all similar in the same pot. Like I would even put like a Childish Gambino in there too.
Okay.
Because of, even though the content is different, the artistry is the same per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lon.
Well, I guess what I was going to say is like, the thing about Tyler is just, he's so creative. Like, I mean, his name is perfect for him.
Yeah.
It's his name and he's the creator, but he's a part of the whole creative process in general, you know? And when you mentioned Donald Glover, I think it's very similar because he's very similar. He can act, he can produce,
You can sing.
he can rap, he can do all this stuff.
He can play the piano.
Yeah.
You know, he can act in whiteface, you know? Hello. Hello.
That one threw me off.
Darius.
Shout out to Atlanta, the series. That's
They're just coming
Darius.
back eventually, so we're happy about that.
Would you like some ostrich?
ostrich egg.
That right there, I was like, yeah, that boy different when I saw that.
But they're kind of in a league of their own.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
because they're not confined, and it's different from just like rappers that act too, because they're creating their own thing too. So I've got, you know, as the years have gone on, I've only got more and more respect for Tyler. Like I really like Tyler a lot. Like I just love everything he's a part of. I love his energy. I love his honesty, and his music's good. Like there's nothing to not like about
Can't
Tyler.
deny, really.
That's it. It's undeniable. Like, and I know they've worked on records together before. It's just, I just thought it was dope to hear him say, both of them, to acknowledge each other openly like that. But Tyler's definitely in the flowers category. Like,
Doesn't he have an album
In
called
his Flower Boy.
Flower Boy. But he should get his flowers 100%.
It's solid too because it's not a gimmick. It's like,
Yeah, that's the big thing.
especially if you've been following Odd Future from the beginning, they've always been kind of that standalone, outlandish, free spirit type individual, like the whole clique.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and he has not sold himself out.
I took it for granted in the beginning. I'll keep it a buck. I was like, oh, here we go. Or I was definitely being an old head in relation to them. Like, I ain't trying to hear.
They've been hot since the beginning.
I'm talking about when Tyler when I first got on to Tyler, I was like, I don't know, we'll see. And I thought it was just a joke and a gimmick and he's clowning. But as I went and turned that off and started actually listening to the product, I'm like, fam is dope, like musically dope. Then I started seeing videos on YouTube with him producing and playing the keys and, you know, and then like Lone said with the video directing and all that, I'm like, he's just nice. And when you see it, you got to give it up. You know what I mean? So salute to him, man. Jay Moore, did you have any thoughts about Westside Gunn and Tyler pretty much bigging each other up?
Well, no, I mean, I think it's the walls have come down as far as, because at one point it was like, okay, if you were over here with Wu-Tang, you were not going to be over here showing love to these guys who were on the radio.
That's
if
what I'm talking
you were over
about.
here, you know, and the thing is, if you were on the radio, probably the people who were handling it was like, yo, don't talk to Rampage, the last Boy Scout, or who. I'm not. That's just it's
Shout
a
out
real
to Rampage,
random.
by the way.
That's
now.
a real random because you know he was on the radio with the joint with Billy Lawrence. I know my old headedness is showing, but I just think now if people really can vibe with each other, then those walls are not there. You don't have so and so A&R turning down features because it won't be a good look or because of overexposure. I mean, Tyler had one of the dopest verses on the Pray for Paris album, which was Westside Gunn.
Yes.
My favorite Westside
When they
Gunn.
switched the beat up.
Yeah. So
Facts.
Where tone did they switch the tone?
yeah, it was so, you know, and the thing is, I wasn't like, you know, the whole Odd Future thing, at first I couldn't get into it just because I remember, because, you know, this is where, once again, this is where being an old head kicks in, where somebody tried to compare to Wu-Tang. I was like, slow down. Let's not do that, ladies and gentlemen. You know, talk to, I mean, these young kids, I don't know if you want to talk about Earl
messed up my experience now.
Talking about how he is equivalent to somebody in the Wu-Tang Clan. We don't want to do that shit. You put too much pressure on these young people when you go ahead and, or just like it was the people we talked about on several shows ago where they tried to compare them to Outkast. I was like, don't do that to those young people. You know, they need
too early for that.
They need to carve out their own lane and become their own people. And I think that's what's
the
happening.
thing with that is
now
they're not even the ones that's doing that.
Exactly. That's why it's not fair.
Yeah.
So when I was able to just get, you know, because it's a few years ago, like Tyler put out a record with Pusha T called Trouble on My Mind. And I just remember we used to run that at Coaches on a pretty regular basis, you know, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to give these guys a real chance as opposed to just seeing like, there's a level of goofiness that I just couldn't get with. You know, I saw them on Adult Swim and I was like, okay, I think that's funny as far as like them doing sketch comedy. Yeah. But as far as me actually listening to their records, it didn't move me in that way. So now Tyler has my full on attention. You know what I'm saying? As far as somebody I can respect as an artist, as a lyricist, as somebody who can do anything. I don't care about any, and like you said, I liked how he called out the Grammys right after he won a Grammy.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you know, when he was, you know, had an animation project and he called out, where are the black cartoon characters? Like, I like that energy from somebody young and who, you know, and at this point, I don't know how young he really is. You know, he could be damn near in his 30s, but, you know, for me, that's young. You know, for someone who has that kind of energy and doesn't know that he's not supposed to say these things. And it was like, people are in such a creative space now. And the media landscape has changed to a place where, like, I don't have to hold my tongue. If you don't ever invite me to the Grammys again, I'm good. Yeah. If you don't ever give me another spot on Comedy Central or Cartoon Network, I'm good. I'm gonna find a way. I'll do direct to consumer. I think that's the energy I love so much about this younger generation.
Dave Chappelle gave him that key too.
Talk to him.
You don't
talk to him.
You know, for all the problems NBA YoungBoy has had. Here's a dude who has #1 records, streams crazy, and he don't even put out records that can be put on the radio.
He can't because he locked up.
Well, that too. I mean, he has other problems, but you know, like he has essentially the career that, you know, and there are all these rappers they're probably making as much money as any rapper back in the day who was on the radio and on TV every day, just because they have a focused and dedicated fan base who likes them because they are them. They don't pull any punches for anybody.
That's priceless.
And
that's priceless.
And 20 years ago, you'd have had to fit into some sort of niche marketing to where, okay, well, can we get them a deal with Nike, or can we get them in a Mountain Dew commercial?
You know what?
Like now, these kids have figured out the direct to consumer model. They don't care, and I think that's awesome.
What you say?
Yeah, I agree.
You know what? I agree with you on that too. But I actually think that the Odd Future machine would have worked back then. If you think about like Yo MTV Raps, I mean, they're looking for a group like that to go sit with and interview with. I mean, during the break we talked about Prince Paul.
Yeah,
I remember Stetsasonic being on Yo MTV Raps. They were somewhat different than a lot of the rap groups that were out back then. I mean, they weren't Odd Future different.
It was different, though.
But you think about De La Soul and that whole movement,
Native
Tongue, Moni Love, all of them, they were different than what was out. So I think Odd Future probably would have had a chance. But you did make a good point as far as sponsorship and things like that. A lot of sponsors would have been scared to touch something like that.
Yeah.
Because especially for all this wild stuff that Tyler says, you know.
Oh yeah,
he be on one.
If he'd have done that freestyle in '93,
oh yeah,
it'd have been a rap.
Gosh,
he'd have been on the cover of Vibe magazine.
Yeah, that would have been.
No, their forces at work would have made sure, because he'd have embarrassed somebody on the radio.
Yeah,
the radio has relationships with all these major record companies. These record companies have sponsorships they need to worry about to get people on the road. They'd have messed around and made sure, okay, that Tyler kid, get him out of here. And you get somebody in here who will play ball.
You talking about back then, like tunnel flex, like You know what I'm talking about? Like, it wasn't, if he'd have done that and went on Flex back then, like you said, oh, it would have been crazy, bro. Because, you know, Flex was...
You clown.
Like I said, you can't do like this in the YouTube direct to consumer era. You can do wild stuff like that, but like when you think about your only outlets for people to see your videos are MTV, BET, VH1, and your only outlets for people to hear your music are the radio. There's no internet at that time. If they wanted, like, there are people, if they wanted to shut you down, it was a wrap. And if you embarrass or make the DJ at the #1 station in the #1 market uncomfortable, they would get you out of here.
You youngins out there don't know nothing about that, being confined to 2 or 3 outlets to either see something or hear something. It's completely different.
The gatekeepers are not as, I mean, they're still there, don't get me wrong, but it's not as prevalent. So
no, all good points, man. Y'all all made good points. And
just think about, there are people at major corporations, even though we're not this huge podcast, like, but you think about it, there are people who watch us on YouTube. There's an hour taken away from network TV every time somebody watches our show.
Yep.
There's an hour taken away, and now you multiply
or listen to it,
that's an hour taken away from terrestrial radio every time they listen to a. So they can say all these things. That's why they try to do all these partnerships, but they don't like the fact that it's direct to consumer. The fact that, like, you know, at one point, it was a big deal if you had a TV show. We have a TV show.
Yeah.
We don't have to cut through any red tape or anything.
I mean, we
have a radio show
because we're on the radio.
Yeah.
Besides,
there's a couple things, but really,
minor tweaks though. We still got a program.
We still get to be us.
Yeah, we still got a program.
The key thing. And to be honest, we wouldn't have done it if we couldn't.
So. Talk to them
straight up.
All right, man. So this last one I want to get to before we get out of here. I think, Lone, by my calculation, we should be good.
Yeah, we should be good.
We should be good. All right, so this is Lone's favorite. I know Lone loves to talk about verses. I had to squeeze it. If y'all,
his favorite one just aired with Bow Wow and
Soulja Boy.
Like, sounds great.
Lone takes popcorn and really be sitting and watching verses, but I had to talk about.
I planned my entire week around it.
He turned his ringer off in the whole nine.
Yeah, I couldn't get in contact with him for 48 hours during Bow Wow.
Big deal.
Yeah, Soulja Boy, but
Big Draco,
yeah. I gotta talk about these two possibilities though, man, because the reason I want to talk about them was because we almost started arguing as soon as we talked about them.
Arguing.
So, but I ain't gonna argue.
I don't think we was arguing. I think we were just discussing.
Heated, well, not even heated, just spirited discussion. Is that okay? You take that?
We just had
spirited discussion.
Spirited discussions. That sounds nice.
So for verses,
I was ready to get to
come on
fighting.
I shout out to Mac. He's free.
Mac, shout out to Mac being home. Yes. Yeah, Shell Shocked is a dope album. I don't care. Y'all can fight me. And Shell Shocked is a dope album. But anyway, all right, let's talk verses. So Jay Moore put me on game to the newest one, which is Keith Sweat versus Bobby Brown, July 1st. And also I saw, shout out to my man Nate Jeezy, who sent me a link of Nori talking crazy about beans. Beanie Sigel for y'all playing along at home. And what was the line where he said if it weren't for Jay-Z, Beans would be PM Dawn?
That was just disrespectful.
That's tough.
That was just disrespectful.
So here's my thing, and
that hurts.
I don't want this to go too long because I know it can. As these possible versus battles, I'm just gonna go ahead and just say my opinion on both, and then we can toss around a little bit if you want. As for Nori and Beans, I think Nori is too gassed off his reggaeton records, and I don't think those are gonna hit like he thinks they will in a battle with Beans. Now keep in mind the structure here. You can use features, you can use your records. I don't care what reggaeton joint Nori plays.
When they
play
pop beat? Say what?
Cut it out, man.
Insert Kawhi laugh.
Cut it out, man. Cut it out. Cut it out, man. I don't care what reggaeton joint he does. When they play What We Do, it's gonna win. I feel it in the air. It's gonna win,
man.
You know what I'm talking about? Like Rock the Mic is gonna win.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying? So the truth is gonna win.
Come on, man.
Yeah, like it's gonna win. Like I'm cool on the reggaeton and I'm cool on the War Report because he was like, he hadn't given y'all classic material. We did the War Report. I'm paraphrasing here. First of all, the War Report is severely overrated in my opinion. Y'all can fight me in the comments. We'll be here for the post show. It's probably about a 3.5 album. Shout out to my man CAD.
It was Timberland, baggy jean, leather Averex jacket, heavy,
8X,
nature stick chewing on.
Nature. What about jungle?
Wow.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Jay Moore, get him, man.
First of all, y'all
Will you get him?
Y'all are not giving.
Nori got joints now.
No, you gonna act like band from TV.
No.
TONY.
No.
Not with beans. Not with beans.
Come on now.
Am I thinking too
nothing?
Nah, I will say
Give him
this.
nothing.
The summer,
the song, nothing.
Summer of
I'll give
90.
him nothing.
You okay?
Summer 97.
Sometimes.
Nori had a nice little lock
Super
on the
thug.
game.
Agreed. I agree. I ain't gonna argue with that.
Oh no.
Pop beat, say what?
Yeah.
Stop, man.
Come on now.
A lot of that was for real.
Body in the
That
trunk.
was for real. A
lot of that was for real.
Man.
Let's be real.
I fool with
A
Nori.
lot of that was for real. Let's be real.
I fool
No,
with
you talking
Nori.
about you look.
But y'all, I'm just telling
now
you,
we on
man,
the Run Eating is an incredible album.
bruh. What I'm saying is, Beans, this can't be life. Like that's what I'm talking about. If they're gonna include features, to me, it's a wrap. If they're gonna include features,
Guess who's back?
guess who's back? Like,
Come on, man.
Oh wow.
that's
Listen,
what I'm
man,
saying.
Beans is
Talk
and
to
this,
him,
this is
man.
what we was
Talk to
getting
him,
into
man.
before the show started. Actually, we was talking about the other conversation.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that one.
As far as Beans got, if we talking about rap stuff, I can't say the other one.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
If we're talking about rap stuff, Beans has a better resume than Nori does. If we're talking going album for album, feature for feature, even his consistency at the time. Because Nori had the War Report, which was solid. He followed that up with, what was the name of that album after that?
Now we on the Run Eating.
Now we on the
Yeah,
Run Eating.
yep.
And then
Jay
what was
Moore,
the
no,
one?
it's Nori, boy.
What was the one dedicated to his pops?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, not the album
whole
itself.
Oh
No,
drawing a blank.
I'm not on Wi-Fi, so I can't look it up. But the Sometimes record was cold.
Yeah,
That record
Actually,
was
that
cold.
was on the Belly soundtrack, I think.
Was it?
Oh No was the record that was that jumped off the second.
Oh, I
Nori
can't fact
album.
check it.
Oh no. That one.
No,
not that one.
No, that's-
Hey,
no,
get
not
your
that
boy,
one.
man. Why y'all let him do this?
If we're talking about that moment in time, though,
Yeah.
if we keeping it 100,
Nori had some records.
he had some
did.
records,
He had some
but
records.
Beans got him in a headlock.
That's all
you
I'm saying.
came up with Big Pun. Come on, Nori's on that.
Listen, man.
He's not Big Pun though.
If the feature,
We talk about y'all don't want to mess with us off of the reunion album.
Jay Moore, if the feature bag is opened up, I'm
Blood
just
Money
telling
Part
you.
3.
No, I'm
What
just
about-
telling you. If the feature bag is opened up, it's a wrap. If they can
There's
use
no way.
Has there ever been a harder line than the "We Are the Champions" when Bean was like, "I will Roc-A-Fella."
See that was
See?
a terrible example, and he did that on purpose. He definitely did that on purpose.
Game.
Yeah.
Stop, man.
I mean, because Nori got he's like, I run laps around the English Channel. I was like, that's actually a body of
Come on.
water, and you would swim around there.
Beans brought the best out of Memphis Bleak. If y'all want to talk about how Memphis Bleak is pretty much Jay-Z's money grab,
yeah.
Beans, if that Beans and Bleak album had came out, I think people would have gave Bleak his props because he
Beans
had
was
some
gonna watch
hits
it.
on
Beans
some
was
of
gonna
his
watch him,
albums.
though. Beans was gonna watch him.
Come on, he's watching everybody.
Okay,
had
all right.
joints.
Just getting that out there.
And for Nori to call him PM Don at best
Yeah,
without
that was
Jay,
just disrespectful.
But I think Nori-
actually,
He's just trying to gas it just
he
in
owes
case.
him a fade the next time he sees.
But
him.
he's trying.
for
Nori
real.
just trying to gas. I know what Nori's doing. He's trying to gas it for the possibility. But what I'm saying
Is he gonna talk over the entire
who
Nori's?
he do it in the interview. So
Side.
I hope he don't do it on Versus. Like, be quiet, bro. Let
You
the
guys-
let
you
the
guys
rain
miss
from
Jay
where I'm
Moore.
from is dangerous.
You missed Jay Moore's little whisper over here. He's like, Bleak had joints.
No, Bleak did
Alright.
have joints
He had
though.
joints.
He didn't have a whole body of work though.
I mean, when you bleak,
I don't know the understanding.
the understanding
whole
had
thing?
heat. The understanding had heat.
He had secret tracks on there which were made by who?
The understanding had heat. But I mean,
gonna
one of
act like
Bleak's
act
biggest.
like
but
he's
Jay
Nah,
Moore.
but he had
Around here,
No, around here was
Round here
hard.
was hard. Round here was hard.
That wasn't a bad album though. I ain't gonna front.
Yeah,
that wasn't a
okay.
bad
It's
album.
dope.
he didn't.
But when we talking about heavy hitters on Roc-A-Fella. Beans is number 2, followed by Young Chris.
Don't get me started on that because
Remember Kanye was on
can do that.
Roc-A-Fella.
Oh yeah, that's right.
you can't leave Ye out. You
Can't leave Ye out.
That
But
version
before
of Ye.
Ye, before you insert
You talking
Ye,
about the Hard Knock Life era.
yeah, before
Yeah.
you insert Ye, it was Jay,
Yeah,
Beans, Young Chris.
You put Young Chris
I
over.
mean, Bleak was there. He's like the
over,
younger brother.
Over Memphis Bleak.
Yes.
I put Young Chris over Memphis Bleak. Yeah, I do. As a rapper, yeah.
I never got into Young Chris, so I can't.
The Young Guns had heat now. Them first couple albums now, and you know, young Chris.
Memphis Bleak is Murder for Life.
Hey,
Bro,
they say Jay took a little bit from Young Chris.
I've heard it since
and
I
you
was
can,
in
you can
college.
damn near hear it.
I've heard it since I was in college. Shout out to my dude DJ Mac, man.
Yeah, you can
and my
hear
boy,
it.
And my
You
boy
hear it a little
Jesse.
bit.
We talk about that all the time. We've been arguing about that since
Young
Ball
Chris
State.
still out here serving though. Be honest with you on the low.
I don't know what
I
he's
ain't, heard
serving.
from, I ain't heard from Young Chris.
Warrants.
I'll follow him on Instagram.
Don't do that. Don't do
Okay.
that. No, he got some heat though. He's dropped some.
He's not
mixtapes.
the cops. He's not serving.
Yeah, he's
warrants.
not the cops. All right, man. So we got that out the way.
Ice cream.
Stop. See,
He
it's
might
your
be
fault.
serving ice cream.
No, he's not. We ain't put that on Young Chris.
hypothetically.
That's
Yeah.
that's where I was going.
Yeah.
That's not where he was going.
No, it was.
We're not putting that on. We not gonna put that on him.
We
The
ain't
ice
saying
cream
that though.
man
Yeah,
is
I can
coming.
dig it.
All right, man. So look, before we get out of here, the last one is, which was just announced, Keith Sweat and Bobby Brown. Right?
Yep.
Bobby's gonna watch Keith.
I've got Bobby.
I'm just gonna throw that out there, and I love Keith Sweat.
That's true.
Jay Moore, I think you
Like,
looked
what-
at me sideways when
what
I said
kind of
Bobby
world
Brown
are we
gonna watch.
watching?
I am.
He's gonna
First of all,
watch.
I am the New Edition is my favorite group, and of course, Bobby Brown is, the first offshoot of New Edition.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I think? Am I rooting for Bobby? Yes. Do I think he's going to wash Keith? No.
No.
Yeah.
Because you got to realize when the New Jack Swing, like that New Jack Swing era kicked
Yep.
off all around that same time. We're talking about 87, 88,
True.
89.
True.
Okay. So they were out at the same time. Now, mind you, Bobby embodied New Jack Swing
Yes, he
with what was done on the Don't Be Cruel album.
Yes, he
Like,
did.
you got to think about how incredible Don't Be Cruel album. It had 5 singles. All 5 of them are on side.
Smash
Yeah, but you know what?
singles.
All 5 songs are on side A.
Yes.
Bobby Brown is a legend based on one side of a tape. He
Yes.
can go to the other side. Don't get me wrong. I'll Be Good to You. He had songs on it that I love.
Yeah, they cool, but,
But-
that first side,
My Prerogative,
Yep.
Roni.
Yep.
Stop right there and made it
Every
an
little
EP.
step, like you got to
Talk to
understand,
him.
all those songs on the first side. Once again, we're showing our old head side of the tape because I had "Don't Be Cruel"
be
on
kind,
tape.
man. Be kind.
So, but you have to realize Keith Sweat had a run from the late 80s, around that same time when Teddy Riley first got
They
hired.
both had Teddy Riley.
But he
There's
never
a
stopped.
difference,
Plus, you
though.
gotta
I'm gonna
remember,
talk about it.
He jumped off. He jumped off in LSG. Teddy, I would in all the.
I see the LSG. I fool with LSG, but
I mean, because if we're gonna because remember this is a versus, so if we're gonna let Bobby go ahead and jump off into Jealous Girl,
Yeah.
and Mr. Telephone Man, you got to go ahead and let Keith jump into My Body and Curious and whatever was the
Not
other
even
joints.
just that.
go ahead.
Not
man,
even
'cause
just
I see
that,
where you're going,
because
but go ahead.
As a champion of New Edition myself,
Yes.
and Bobby Brown, of course, being one of the most instrumental branches in that family tree.
He started the group. Let's give him
started
his
the
props.
group. Keith Sweat was pinning hits on the low. So if we're talking about somebody's
He could jump off
riding
in that silk.
game,
He can jump off in
he
the
can
silk.
he can jump off into that. He
Yeah,
can
he
jump
could
off
jump
into
off in
what's
the
my
cut-
what's
he's
my
jumping
guy
on the cut
that
close.
just got paid?
Johnny Kemp.
Johnny Kemp. Keith Sweat is responsible for that song.
That's true.
Little do people know.
That's true.
And I hope, like, I seen Keith Sweat live, and Keith Sweat starts singing these other songs. I'm like, hold on, what is he doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, y'all didn't know I wrote these.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, see, this is different. This makes it a whole different
That's
ball
that
game.
bag I
When you
forgot-
start
I forgot
talking about the hits that he's penned for other people on top of his own catalog,
Do you like that counting though? Do you want that to count?
yes, you
Yeah.
have to count
That's
it.
how we've been doing it
Because
so
I'm just
far.
asking.
you
I'm
have
just
to
asking.
count that.
Okay.
With Bobby Brown, we're talking about, of course, New Edition hits. Of course, Don't Be Cruel, which is arguably one of the best R&B albums ever made.
Lone Loves R&B.
And then you're
think we
talking
should be
about
able to
what's
count.
featured on Ghostbusters.
Well, of course.
And then after that it's kind of hit or miss with Bobby.
You know that we could still do humping around.
You can do humping around. Sound like it should have been on.
Humping around is a good record.
For my real Bobby Brown fans, he might be able to break out College Girl.
He can break out Girlfriend.
He could break out. The joint he did with Glenn Medeiros. He could break out Thug Lovin' with Ja Rule.
Don't break that out. We gotta stop there. Go ahead, go ahead, Long.
He was with Whitney Houston, so he could bring out "I Will Always Love You."
No,
right?
he can't because he didn't have nothing to do with that.
Oh my God.
Whitney Houston
But
didn't
he
write
could
that.
play Something in Common, which does feature Whitney Houston.
Oh
He
my
could
God,
do that.
man.
But other than
He
that,
could
I
break
mean,
out Beautiful with Damian Marley.
he could.
Yo.
But we're talking about a pen
I'm not
game.
doing this with
So
him,
we talking about a pen game, just like and
I'm
Babyface
not
showed you
doing this
that on the when he battled
the Verzuz,
with
Teddy
Pendergrass. God rest his soul, he ain't with us
rest in
anymore.
peace.
I like
But
Teddy
but yeah, he
No, you
showed
don't.
you that. I mean, Babyface was penning stuff for Eric Clapton. Who knew that?
Fire though.
Everybody didn't know that.
Yeah,
Fire,
Say the
though.
Word. I mean, he was in the video. I remember that.
Yeah. But people
Fire.
don't know that. I told somebody that at work like a week or so ago. They was like, "Yeah, right."
You know what, Jay
Well,
Moore?
yeah, Babyface wrote that.
You and Terry, now that y'all introduced the pen to it, that's the one aspect I forgot.
But you got to remember,
forgot
even
about.
if you take out the pen, remember like Keith had a run of like 5 or 6. Like there you go, telling me no again. He got twisted.
But Bobby Brown,
nobody.
Bobby Brown, and I
You got to
love
understand,
Nobody.
those are all off.
Twisted. I know.
Keith had 4 or 5 albums in a
right.
row that were kind of incredible.
They were incredible.
Or
at least
he got smashed
And
records
Keith
though.
didn't.
Man.
He had a smash album.
Keith got
and
hit.
he has smash verses on New Edition stuff, of course.
He's gonna tap into
but
that though.
he has to tap into that because that's the only way he's gonna be able to keep his gloves up.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just saying it's going to be a lot closer than people want to think.
Yeah.
Me as a champion as well of New Edition.
Okay.
It is what
fair,
it is.
fair enough, man. We might have to stick around post show, maybe bring that back up. But salute to the chat. We appreciate everybody that's rocked with us tonight. Make sure you go to.
Shouts to the raid. We got a raid of 11.
Oh, we had a raid. I didn't even.
Yeah.
I
We'll talk
couldn't
about
see
it in the
chat.
post show.
Yeah, my sprint is trash, but we appreciate everybody that rock with us tonight. Like and subscribe if you're on Twitch. Make sure you follow us on the New Old Heads Network. Hit the bell for notifications. Do the same for YouTube for our New Old Heads Network page. Hit the bells for notifications there. We'll have all our content uploaded. We appreciate all the support, the new Raiders. We appreciate y'all as well. Stick around for a little bit. We're gonna do a little post show, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.